Hey, this is Mark Moore, aka Tuxedo Mark, at various places on the internet. It's 1:24 p.m. according to a computer clock on Thursday, May 5th, 2016. And I want to talk to you about a movie that I recently saw. It's called The Legend of Kate Kensington. You probably never heard of it. That's because it's a locally filmed movie. It was filmed in my county. Stars mostly local actors, or at least, from around the Central Florida area, probably. But yeah, I've been following this movie since like June of 2014 when I first saw an article about it in a local paper. And now it's finally out. Actually, it had like a one-day showing back on like October 31st in Ocala, and I wasn't able to go to that. But they had another premiere here in my county, in a local movie theater. Actually, I didn't even know we had a locally owned movie theater, but we do. It's called the Valerie Theater, and it was it opened in 1927, during the silent era. The first movie that was shown there was called The Only Woman, and the last one was The Untouchables in 1987. So it was open for 60 years, then closed. I think someone had bought it at one point to try to turn it into a hardware store, but then that never happened. And then the city of Inverness actually purchased it in 2009. They started renovating it, and it opened last June. It mostly shows like older films and like specialty films, and like it has live performances too, I think, because there's like a stage in front of the screen. It's a one-screen theater. Maximum occupancy is 150 people. And actually, when I was watching the movie, I noticed that heads of people in front of me were blocking the screen, and I didn't realize until the next morning that the reason for that was all of the rows are on the same level. There are no steps. Yeah, that makes a big difference. So my vision was partially obstructed. But anyway. So this was a locally filmed movie, and going into it, I knew it was going to be like some kind of paranormal, supernatural type of thriller with some Christian overtones or undertones in it. So like Christian paranormal thriller, it's like, okay, points for accuracy, I guess, or I mean points for creativity. I didn't know what to expect, really. I had watched the 2 teaser trailers. There are actually 3 actual trailers that I didn't watch until after I saw the movie, but the music was loud in the trailers, and I thought, and there were like lots of rapid cuts, and I thought, is this gonna suck? But no, mostly it looked pretty good, and the editing was competent. But during a lot of times when they were doing flashbacks and visions and stuff like that, I sometimes lost track of what was going on. But let me back up. So there were going to be 6 showings of the movie at the Valerie Theater over this past weekend. 2 on Friday, April 29th, 2 on Saturday, April 30th, and 2 on Sunday, May 1st. I chose the second showing on Saturday, April 30th. It was at 7:30 p.m., so I left the house sometime after 5:30. I wanted to get there by 6:30 because that's when the box office opened to buy tickets. And I was hoping it was already sold out because box office is also put from 12 to 4. So But anyway, I got my ticket. When I went into the theater, they actually broke off part of it, and I thought I would suddenly have flashback to my childhood. I'm like, oh yeah, that's what they used to do. They don't do that anymore at, like, the chain theater that I go to, like Regal or whatever. I also got like a receipt, and I'm not sure why there's a tear off portion for that, since I just get to keep this, but whatever. So yeah, this is the ticket and the receipt thing. So yeah. Alright. So I chose that particular showing because for like 3 of the showings, various members of the cast and crew would be in attendance. So I met a lot of the actors from the film, and the guy that did the score, the composer, was also there. As it turns out, at the end of the film, after they brought a lot of the cast out, to the front of the stage, they also pointed out the director sitting in the balcony behind us. So the writer slash director slash producer was there too. So I don't know if I want to go into too much detail regarding the plot, but it's about a girl with like clairvoyant powers. She can see stuff. She can see stuff that dead people have experienced. It's like, yeah, she has these visions, and she's kind of weirded out by them, and so is her mother. But the girl, Haley, had helped police solve crime back in North Carolina, where they live. So her mother, Diane, kind of wants to see where this leads and stuff, even though her minister warns that the Bible preaches against clairvoyance, and the movie got kind of preachy at that point. But Diane kind of stands up for it, and her dad visited her one day and mentioned something that he never told her before, that about 6 months before her husband's death, because her husband died in a horrific car accident or something, that he was having lunch with her daughter, Haley, his granddaughter, and she had said, oh, Daddy's gonna be going somewhere soon, he's going to heaven. And she predicted her dad's death, right down to the color of the vehicle that hit him or something. So Diane's like, wow. Anyway, she thinks that what she and Haley need are a fresh start away from, these bad experiences and stuff. So she chooses Inverness, Florida. It's a city in my county. There was a funny joke at one point. One of the characters asked, why Inverness, Florida? It's such an obscure place. The audience got a chuckle out of that. Anyway, so they moved to Inverness. Inverness, okay, for those of you that don't know, I live in Homestead, so that's like in the southwest part of the county, and Inverness is in the northeast part. To get to Inverness from my house, it takes around 25 minutes. To get to downtown Inverness, maybe a half hour, maybe a bit more. You could get to historic downtown Inverness, where you've got the old courthouse near the new courthouse, basically Courthouse Square. That's a historic downtown section. It's the location of the county seat, and it's one of only 2 incorporated cities in my county. The other is Crystal River, which is pretty much directly north of me, in like the northwest part of the county. And beyond Inverness a little bit is Floral City, which I don't think I've ever been to. Despite its name, it's not an incorporated city either. Most of this county's unincorporated. It's, named towns, but it's county property. Anyway, so they move to Inverness, and they meet their next door. I don't know if it's next door neighbors, but they're new neighbors. Or actually, they're the new neighbors to these people. And, Michelle Parsick and her teenage daughter, Ashley, and her younger son, Carl. And, Michelle actually brings over a cake for them. Okay. A little old-fashioned. But anyway, they introduce themselves to each other, and Michelle is a local news reporter for Inverness 5, the news station that serves all of Citrus County. And that was completely made up for the film. We don't have our own local newscast. We so don't have our own local newscast. We've got a local TV station with the transmitter in Lecanto, which is kind of between Homosassa and Inverness. That's where I went to middle school and high school. But it's a low-powered digital station and has a mix of general and religious programs, but no local news. Our news is done by Tampa. Tampa covers us, basically, and that's where we get our local newscasts from. It's from Tampa, because we suck. No, we don't have our no. The only reason that I can guess for why they created this made-up station was because the writer wanted a news reporter character in his film, and I guess newspaper reporter just wouldn't do, for whatever reason. There is a section later on in the film where the news reporter's interviewing teens and stuff, and that's probably a reason why, because you wouldn't be able to get the teen reactions just from a newspaper reporter. This way you could show the teens on the news in the interviews and stuff. But our local newspaper, the Citrus County Chronicle, is also mentioned, and they actually made it a prop front page for the film. It was pretty cool. Although I don't know why the local newscast showed the picture of the front page instead of showing just a regular photograph that had appeared on the front page. That's kind of weird. But the main part of the story involves a local legend, Kate Kensington, a woman that mysteriously vanished back in the 1940s, and this was made up for the film too. We don't have any local legends, no local ghost stories, nothing like that, because we suck. But yeah, they have, scenes set in the 1940s, and those are done in black and white, so that's kind of neat. Kate was engaged to be married to a guy named William. He went off to fight in World War II. She learns of the attack on Pearl Harbor over the radio, and William's killed. She goes into a depression. Her family can't help her, so they ship her off to a hospital or mental asylum for treatment. She gets electroshock therapy, but she's just all depressed. And eventually they can't help her, so the family takes her back. One day she puts on her wedding dress that she would have worn to her wedding if she had gotten married. She goes to visit her fiancé's grave. and buries her wedding ring, and then goes off on trail, goes down to a dock, and jumps into the water and commits suicide. And then she immediately comes out of the water as like a ghost or a ghoul or a zombie or whatever, and I'm not sure what she's supposed to be. Her face gets all cracked and disfigured, and I think they put a black and white effect on her because she looks really pale, but I'm not sure what she's supposed to be exactly. Ghosts aren't supposed to look like they've just drowned, right? I mean, I don't know, whatever. But you see, she shows up, again, way too quickly, and she shows up too often in the film, throughout the film. And there seems to be no logic as to who can see her and who can't. Haley obviously starts having visions of her and sees her, but other people see her too, and it's not clear, like, what she's supposed to be and who's supposed to be able to see her and when. And anyway, Haley wants to investigate because that's what all the elementary school kids like to do, right? Is go to the library. She goes to the library with Carl and some other female friend that I forget what her name is, and they investigate by looking through books and newspaper archives and watching like video archives, like with the headphones, watching the machines that they have for the library. And there you see extensive video footage from the 1940s. I mean, they did like the black and white, scratched up, or not black and white, but sepia toned footage, but it's got audio, and the psychiatrist or whoever at the mental hospital is giving his opinions about Kate, and you see footage of Kate wandering around the hospital and footage of Kate sitting at home, and this is all way too convenient. No one in the 1940s would be recording all of this stuff. At most, you might have some audio tape archives that the doctor at the hospital might have recorded, and maybe you can hear Kate's voice on it, but that's it. Maybe photographs, but not video footage that's this extensive and detailed. They also go through the history of the Kensington family in Citrus County, and they make fake newspapers and fake photographs and stuff, and so they're creating this whole history of this family in this county that never actually existed. I think they filmed this at the Lake Regents Library in Inverness, I assume, because it's supposed to be a local library, and that would be it. But they don't mention the name of the library in the film itself, so I don't know. Yeah, kids would not be doing this unless it was for like a school assignment. They would not take such an interest in a local ghost legend or whatever. Trying to find out how many sightings of Kate that there have been over the years and stuff like that. They're reading this stuff to each other, and no. I mean, I know Haley's got these visions that she's trying to seek out the meaning to them. Like, why is she seeing Kate? But I mean, really? I mean, I can't imagine kids going through all this trouble for this. Also, it's funny. The movie pretends that Inverness has its own local police department. It doesn't. It relies on the Citrus County Sheriff's Office. In fact, Crystal River was the only city in the county that had its own police force, and they dissolved it a few years ago. So now it relies on the Sheriff's Office as well. But no, so in the universe of the movie, Inverness has its own police department. But the police cars, like the patrol vehicles, as well as the police uniforms, they don't mention Inverness at all. It says just police on it. I mean, it looks like generic black police cars, and by the way, Citrus County Sheriff's Office vehicles are white. But this is supposed to be like the Inverness Police, I assume. I mean, they don't say what the name of the law enforcement agency is, but anyway. So this one cop one night is patrolling the historical district. No one calls it that. I mean, there's this sign in the courthouse square that says like historic downtown Inverness, but that's it. It's not the historical district, and the term district makes it seem like Inverness is like some kind of big city, even though earlier it had been mentioned to be like a small town. Which, I mean, it's a small city. Officially it's a city, but it's not big, and but anyway, so this cop goes and patrols in the nearby Hills of Rest Cemetery, or it follows the guy there, like some homeless guy or some vagrant or something. And here's where the movie kind of squishes the geography, because Hills of Rest Cemetery, which I didn't know at the time that I watched the movie, but it turns out it's a real cemetery. But it's not located at Inverness, it's located in Floral City. And I'm not sure why they decided to use that cemetery, because there are plenty of cemeteries in Inverness, except maybe for some historical reason, because that's where Kate's fiance William was buried, and maybe that was like the only cemetery around in the 40s. Probably not, but or maybe it's just the only place to allow them to film. I'm not sure, but Internet Movie Database says that they used the combination of Floral City and Orlando to film the cemetery scenes. But anyway, so the cop talks with the homeless guy for a bit, and then the homeless guy sees the apparition of Kate Kensington, and I think he's the one that takes the picture of her, I'm not sure, but it winds up on the front page of the Citrus County Chronicle on the next day. And then the local DJ at the fictitious radio station that they made up for the film talks about the legend of Kate Kensington, and then takes some calls regarding her. I guess they couldn't use the local radio stations that we actually have in the county, so they made one up. But anyway, it's kind of funny. When the cop was patrolling the historical district, he saw the old courthouse, which is now a museum. And that courthouse actually appeared in an Elvis Presley film called Follow That Dream. He filmed part of that movie here in Inverness way back in the day. And they screened the dailies at the Valerie Theatre, and he was in attendance for that every day. But he was invited back for the film's premiere, but he didn't attend. And from what I've read, he didn't really miss much, because the audience members kept interrupting the film by pointing themselves out in the film. So it was kind of a distracting experience. But this is like the Legend of Kate Kensington is like the first real film that's been filmed in our county since then. So we kind of suck when it comes to getting stuff filmed here. But anyway, so I figured I would attend this film because it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience, probably. So I thought, why not? Let's do this. I mean, it might be bad, but let's do it. And I won't detail the whole rest of the plot of this film, but it's basically trying to uncover what Kate wants, and Haley coming to grips with her abilities and what they mean for her. And there's like a spiritual scene in a church near the end of the film that's very hammy and very scene chewing, and I won't detail the whole rest of the plot. I won't say how it ends, but I'll talk about like the technical aspects of the film. Mostly it's filmed okay. It's probably not even filmed. It looks more like it's digital, probably. It was probably recorded using digital cameras, which makes sense if it's a low budget film. I think it was reported to have a budget of like $175,000. So yeah, mostly the audio and video work is good. The music is a bit too loud, and sometimes it's used at inappropriate moments. Like there's this pounding, pulsing, suspenseful type of music playing during a scene in which Haley notices a forgotten printout that she had printed at the local library, and it had fallen on the floor like halfway under her bed, and she sees it on the floor, and the music is like, "Dur, dur, dur, dur." Tone it down. She's noticing a sheet of paper on the floor. Anyway, so yeah, you saw the old courthouse. You also saw the Valerie Theater in that same scene where the cops patrolling. That got a laugh out of the audience. I mean, how many times can you say that you've watched a movie in a theater that's featured in that same movie? It was pretty surreal. Also surreal was the song at the beginning of the film. It's like a country song that sings about the legend of Kensington, and they actually mentioned Citrus County, and that was surreal. From what I could tell, the movie was a bit just under 2 hours long, but it felt like 3 hours. It was slow paced. It was lethargic, really. I would have tightened stuff up. I would have sped things along because there's a lot of repetitiveness and redundancy in it. They repeat audio from clips from earlier in the film. They repeat footage. They repeat flashback stuff. I would have tightened this stuff up. In fact, if this thing ever hits home video, I'm gonna fan it because there's a decent film in there somewhere. I wouldn't say this is a great film, but they tried, and oddly enough, the minister that Haley talks to in the church near the end of the film basically says her clairvoyance is a gift from the Holy Spirit. It's nothing to be afraid of. And I was surprised at that, because you wouldn't expect a Christian film to say something like that, especially since the one minister at the beginning of the film was preaching against it. But it turns out, no. You got psychic powers, that's cool. That's cool. Also, apparently, suicide is forgiven, which, I mean, that's something that I personally agree with. I think people that commit suicide go to heaven, or the Summerland, or whatever you want to call it. But I was surprised to see a Christian film basically go that route. And I might have just given away the ending, but anyway, yeah, I think Haley said at one point, or someone says at one point, that people that commit suicide, sometimes they're not at rest, and that's why they remain on Earth or something. That's an interesting take on it. The acting wasn't very good. You could tell, this is probably the director's fault, not the individual actors, because they all seem to be like this, where they're very deliberately reciting their lines. They're reciting their lines. They're not acting, really. Sometimes they trip over their lines, and sometimes they actually go back and correct themselves. And the minister at the end of the film, when he tripped over a line and went back quickly and corrected himself, that wound up in the trailer. Yeah. But it's in the film too. It's in the final film. Also, the kid actors, they range in ability. The kid that plays Carl is actually really pretty good and funny, actually. Haley's okay, but this one kid that played Haley's cousin in North Carolina before she moved down to Florida, he was awful. He was just awful. He mumbled his lines like, "I'm gonna come over and cut the grass. Do I still get my $40? Okay." He's horrible. I mean, maybe that's how kids talk, but it was like, ugh. Sometimes I felt so embarrassed for the actors that I wouldn't look directly at them on the screen. I would kind of like look off to the side, because I felt embarrassed for what, like, I kept wondering what the rest of the audience in the theater was thinking about the actors. Especially knowing that most of the actors were in attendance. Well, I didn't know how many of them were in attendance until the end of the film when they brought them out, but yeah. One of the actors that had a minor role as a female cop, as well as a nurse in the film, she did like an on-stage introduction as well as at the end of the film, and they also brought out the guy who played the DJ at the end of the film, and they were doing like this back and forth comedy type of thing. It was kind of weird, but yeah. At the end of the film, they had the actors stand in front of the stage, kind of in a row, and we got a choice of a free movie poster, one of two. There was one with Kate on it and one with Haley, and I chose the one with Kate, and we got to have all the actors autograph our posters. And I'll show it to you right now, actually. It's right here. Yeah, so that's pretty neat, right? I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to preserve this. I'll maybe put it in some kind of plastic somehow. I don't know what to do yet. I don't want to like stick pins in it and put it on my wall. I don't want to kind of ruin the poster or nothing. Any advice on that? So, overall, it's a film that I don't regret seeing. I'm glad I went to see it because it was a unique experience, and I've never known of that theater until last year when I read about it in the paper that it was going to be opening back up, and I thought, wow, we had a local theater here? All I knew about were the chain theaters. I didn't know we had like a local theater. It's kind of neat. The church at the end of the film that Haley goes to figure stuff out is the Floral City United Methodist Church, and yeah, she went there from Inverness. Like, okay, there are plenty of churches in Inverness. Why go to Floral City? Unless that was the only church that allowed them to film. I'm not sure. Okay, I gotta share this. The minister in the church at the end of the film, he's like wearing the collar and the robes and stuff, or black anyway. I don't know if it's robes, but it's anyway. He looks like a priest or something, but it's clearly stated that it's Floral City United Methodist Church. But anyway, he looks like Jesus, kinda. I mean, they cast a biker-looking dude to play him, and I actually saw him at the premiere. He was there taking photos early on with a camera, but he left like way before the film started even. So, but anyway, I think the film tried to trick us at one point into thinking he is Jesus, because he kind of disappears, and you would think, oh, Haley saw Jesus, but no, the minister was just sitting in another row listening in on Haley and her mom talking. How her mom knew to find her at that church, I don't know. I mean, it's not even stated that they attend that church. Was Haley already familiar with this church? Did she and the minister already know each other? It's never addressed. The minister refers to her as my child, like, can you be any more cliche? And Haley and the minister both quote lengthy Bible verses, and Haley's talking about her emotional turmoil and all of this stuff about, like, and she needs guidance, and no kids talk like this. I mean, no human beings talk like this at all. And the minister at the end gives, he does the blessing. He gives this really scene-chewing blessing and talking in Bible verses again. It's like, people don't talk like this. You could say that about most of the film. I mean, people don't talk like this. Or if they are talking normal dialogue, it doesn't sound like they're having a natural conversation. It sounds like they're trying really hard to deliver their lines. Anyway, overall, it was a good experience. It wasn't a good film. It was an okay film. It would be better if it got edited better. Some things can't be helped, like the delivery and stuff like that. But you know, it is what it is. It kind of looks like a Netflix original film or a made-for-TV film or movie, not film. that somehow just got the big screen treatment for a few days. Or big screen airing for a few days. Not big screen treatment, because it looks like, you know, a TV or Netflix movie that was shown on the big screen. Yeah. I don't know what else to say about it, really. It's an okay film. You can check out the trailers on YouTube if you're interested. The cast was nice and friendly, and they agreed to have my picture taken with me. They thanked me for coming to see the film when they autographed my poster, so it was all good. In fact, there's this one guy. So, some of these actors actually have a bit of experience. I think one of the girls was actually in Tomorrowland. Probably not sharing any scenes with George Clooney, but I haven't seen the movie either. But yeah, it was just a bit part from what I could tell. That's the way it is for all of these actors that have done other things. Is they've been in stuff, but it's been bit parts. Like the guy that plays William, Kate's fiance. He's been in a few episodes of Numbers. He's been in an episode of 24, an episode of Sex in the City, but bit parts, you know. But I was probably like the least dressed up person there. I was wearing like cargo shorts and a Zelda shirt. One of the actors, either teens or 20s, she was like, "Cool Zelda shirt." I'm like, "Thanks." Some people don't even know what it is. She's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah." My mom asked me what it was, and yeah. So yeah, a film from Citrus County. I think I've said all that I have to say about it. Without without going into too much detail. But Haley has visions of Kate, and sometimes those got confusing when she skipped around in them, and when he recycled footage of Kate from the 40s and stuff like that, and there's a lot of repetitiveness, and yeah, the pacing could have picked up with some better editing. But anyway, now I'm just reviewing myself. I'm being redundant, so I think I'll end this. It's 2:04 p.m. and that's it. Thanks for watching.